All right, welcome everybody. It's Chris Petri. We're going to have a little fun today. We're going to work with some watercolor crayons. We had someone in the comment section mention if I've ever done work with watercolor crayons, and I think I might have tried them once or twice. Watercolor pencils, watercolor crayons, but I really can't say I've done a lot of work with them. I've tried them a few times, just to maybe see what it looks like if I scratch down some color on the paper and then maybe add some water to it. So we're going to kind of explore this again a little bit. This time we'll do it together, and I thought it was a good idea. It's kind of a little bit of a change of pace, so this doesn't have to be a super serious trying to create a painting type of video, but just more or less a tutorial about looking at what watercolor crayons are like. And I have the set here. This is actually a Statler set. So this is actually one that I picked up and purchased, and then I lent them to somebody in my family. I can't remember who, but they used the crayons a little bit, but not really too much, as you can see. So some of them are broken and the paper's peeled off them, but for the most part, they're pretty much still, in great condition and lots of crayon left. So we'll set them down here on the table, and I'll tape down my crayon tray just so you can kind of see it as we go. And all the colors are here, so you probably can see the colors pretty clearly. So maybe you'll identify some of the colors we're going to use. I'm not going to maybe key in on really critically looking at every color and what I'm using. I'm just going to try to take some of these colors and we'll use them here. And I'm using, this is Arches satin paper. I'm going to try to find, sometimes my studio is a little disorganized. I apologize. I try to have on camera important things so you can see what I'm doing. So this is Arches Rough, which we use a lot for like landscapes and things, anything, really everything. Arches Rough works with everything. All these papers are great papers that I use all the time. Arches, this is what we're using right now. It's the pink cover. So if you want to use satin paper like we're using here, this is the Arches satin paper, hot pressed satin, and they come in the gummed blocks. So I buy them right in the blocks, and this is what the color looks like, the color of the cover. So if you want to buy them, and they come in all different sizes. This is a 9x12 gummed block. These are, again, great paper. Arches is like, that's the creme de la creme of watercolor paper. That and Fabriano, I think, and Buckingford's great. And there's probably quite a few other ones I'm not mentioning that are great papers too. So these are like your best papers, and you definitely, I use a lot of student grade paper when I'm practicing. So I encourage you to do that as well. But if you want to, once in a while pick up a sheet or two, or maybe a small pad of the Arches papers, you'll find that you'll have incredible results painting with them because they're just so good. They're just so beautifully made. The watercolor paper, it's almost like you just have like a long time to work with it. You can add additional washes to your paper, and it gives you lots of time to do that. It's not like other papers, I guess, like a student grade and under student grade, like the very, very inexpensive paper that you might buy, and I've tried a lot of them. Sometimes you put a wash down, and then 20 seconds later, if you go to add in a little bit of other wash, you get funny looking blotches of color and water spots and all kinds of cauliflowers, blossoms, blooms, all the different things you might notice in watercolor spots, water spots. So again, Arches, you can never go wrong with Arches, great paper. So we'll use that here doing our crayons. And I always think too, just a little tidbit of information, I always find that satin paper is great when you're doing also ink and wash, especially ink. If you're doing like ink drawings with an ink pen, we'll do those again. In the near future, we'll try an ink and wash painting. Inks really work great with satin paper, the really, really smooth surface paper, I find. Not always, but they're fun to work with the smooth paper, the satin paper. And again, let's try these crayons. I think satin paper is a good paper to use with crayons, I believe. I mean, I'm not an expert, obviously, with crayon and watercolor pencils or watercolor crayons, but let's give it a try here and see what we have. Let's try out a green. So I'm just going to start right out first and go, let me see what, if I just put a little light So I'm touching the paper extremely lightly right now with my pencil. With this is a green watercolor crayon. Again, they're Staedtler crayons, watercolor crayons. This one looks like it's probably willow green. Let me see if it's written on here. It should be written on here. Okay. Yeah, this is green. This is just regular green. And then where's our other green? Willow green. This is willow green. So willow green's the lighter, warmer green. And then the verde green. Verde and vert. I'm not sure of all these languages. I think verde is Spanish, Latin, and vert might be German. I'm not sure. Well, I know some of you out there are going to leave great comments in the comment section letting us know what these different languages are. But let's see. So we'll use the verde green. This kind of looks like this looks like, what color would this be in our regular palette that we use? This would be I'm going to have to look up my color charts now. For some reason, I cannot remember my normal green that I use in my palette all the time. Okay, so anyway, we're putting on a really light green bit of crayon, like a light, kind of barely touching the paper. Put on that. We'll make a little swatch, just a little square here I'm making. No big deal, right? Kind of easy. Just do a little small section here of light touching the paper, just like a light tonal value of color with the crayon. I meant to say this looks like Viridian. Viridian is what I meant to say. This looks like a Viridian green. And this one looks like kind of a leaf green or like a olive green, perhaps. So let's try this too, right next to it. So you can right away see this is a warmer green. It's got more yellow in it. So it's more toward the yellow side of the color spectrum. And this green here that we use, the verde, that is toward the blue, cooler green. So there we go. We got two swatches. We've got our two greens over here. Green happens to be a very, very popular color for many people. It's probably it is probably second most popular color that if you surveyed all the people you can muster, this would be like your second most popular color. Blue is the most popular color out of all colors. Look at that. That looks great. Wow. So we just added a damp brush. That's all we did. I added a damp brush here to this, and look how good that looks. Wow. I think some of you are going to be running out right away, going to Amazon and ordering your crayons, your Staedtler crayons, because they do look great. Wow. I didn't have to work at that. I just had to sketch a little bit of crayon on there. And look at that beautiful swatch we just did. All right, let's go to the second one. So I rinse off my brush here in the water. I just have a little bit of water set up in this glass. So I'm just using a glass of water, rinse off the brush, not too much water, and then I tap off a lot of the water off the brush and just use a damp brush and then just moisten the paper with this. And I add maybe a little more water, tap off a little bit of water, not too much. I'd rather go with a little bit of water first and then add more if I need to, but no sense in flooding the paper with too much water. That would be a mess. All right, look at that. This looks great too. Wow. So right away I can tell you I'm glad my friend on YouTube, my fellow student and fellow watercolor artist, mentioned about trying out watercolor crayons and watercolor pencils, because I'm really thinking this is fantastic. This could work great for like doing like cards and things, like occasional cards where you just like draw in a pencil drawing and then add in really light bits of crayon color to it, and then you just go and do everything with a little light damp brush, and you get that kind of, those cards, the occasional cards you get at the store where a lot of times you see like those watercolor paintings on those cards, and it's like all one tonal value, like a light wash like this, and the whole thing just looks kind of very smooth looking. It looks really nice, smooth looking, kind of pleasant looking, soft, pastel-y. So right away I can say, wow, that looks fantastic. All right, let's do another one. Let's try the red here. Now, which red is this? This is going to be the rojo, which is Espanol. Red is English, and rouge might be German. Again, maybe is something other language. I'm not sure. And again, someone's going to mention this in the comment section, the different languages, and I'm pretty sure I'm getting the Latin correct. Trying to be a conquistador here. And there we go, red, beautiful. We'll put a little light bit of crayon on there, not too much. I'm going to go darker in a few minutes, but let's try the lighter version of these. So right away you can see it's a beautiful watercolor wash. You almost can't even tell that I use crayon here. It looks just like watercolor wash, to be honest with you. What do you think about that? Does this look like regular watercolor wash? You're the artist. You're going to have to let me know in the comments section. And let's try this out here. Okay, I dampen the brush, rinse the brush off, tap off a little bit of water, and let's go and put a damp brush with a tiny bit of water on there onto this swatch area. And again, this looks great. And I just keep smoothing around the wash. And that looks really good. Wow. Gorgeous, like a pink color, beautiful for flower type flowers or clothing or anything like that. Sky colors for sunsets and sunrises. Looks beautiful. Now, let's rinse off the brush again. Let's try the darker versions of these same colors we just used. So right now we're using 2 greens and a red. Let's do a blue, actually. Let's try a blue. That's the most popular color of any color. If you survey 100 people, 60% will say I like blue the most. Okay, so here we have, okay, light blue, azul claro, and bleu clare. Not sure, again, on that third language. Cobalt blue is this one. Azul cobalto, and blue cobalt. So let's try, of these, let's try this one here. This one again is the light blue, or azul claro, or blue clair. There we go. And let's we'll do a light, again, a light pencil shading here. So I'm just shading onto the watercolor paper, and again, it's satin paper, smooth paper, so this is like a real easy way to do it. You know, if you're using like a really textured watercolor paper, you're going to have a really difficult time, I think. Not a difficult time, but it's going to work a lot better if you're using a satin paper or a very smooth watercolor paper. And you could even do this on printer paper. That would work fine on printer paper to do this type of a exercise where we're just trying to get in some colors here and see how our pencils are operating. So we're functioning. And let's do again, rinse the brush in a little bit of clean, fresh, clean, crystal clear water. Tap off a little bit of water on the sponge, but let's leave an okay amount of water in that brush. And then just moisten that square that we just shaded in. And that's wonderful. That looks like a cerulean blue on our normal palette that we use all the time. This one looks like a alizarin crimson or a rose madder. This is, again, looks like a olive green maybe, or a leaf green, and this looks like viridian. So you can see these colors are matching up to our normal palette that we use, so you won't have any problem if you're using crayons or watercolor crayons or watercolor pencils. You're going to see the same colors like appearing as you use in your normal palette for the most part, so far with this Staedtler. This could also be a really light cobalt blue. And we'll try one more, since everyone's mostly has a really strong liking for blue. We'll do this one here, which is the cobalt blue or azul cobalto. And let's do the light shading again. Maybe I'll go this way. I'll cross hatch a little bit here. So this is going to look more like French ultramarine or cobalt. A little bit more of a cooler blue. Or I should say warmer blue. This is a warmer blue. This is a cooler blue. It's kind of more toward the green. This blue is a little more toward the red, going towards purple. So we would call this a warm blue, and that's a cool blue. And then a warm green, which is toward the yellow, and then a cool green, which is toward the blue. And let's get a little bit of, rinse the brush, tap off a touch of water, and let's go right in with a little bit more than a damp brush. It has a little bit of water on it. And we'll just smooth it around, activate that crayon shading, and look at how wonderful that looks. Wow. Can you believe how good you're doing with this? I'm sure some of you are off and running already with this idea, or you're watching me do it and saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get this. Because it's really, look how great those washes look. And I think that's what we're going to do on this video. We're going to do an occasional card after we do these swatches. So let's keep working here together doing these. And I'm hoping you're going to pick up some crayons. If you have some watercolor pencils or watercolor crayons, please join along with us. Grab your gear, your pencils, your watercolor brushes, you know, and some paper and join along. Try to find your smooth paper, your satin paper in your studio with me. That would really work great. And I think that's really going to be a real excellent performance for you using the crayons and the smooth paper. And then a little bit of light wash, a little bit of light water, not too much water, right? We don't want to kind of flood these swatches out. We want to kind of keep it just rinse the brush, tap a little bit of water off, go in and, get that water mixed in with your shading, and then you have it. You'll have wonderful results with this. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break, and then we'll come right back. We'll do another row of swatches underneath here. We'll try some different colors, some other colors here. And then after that, we're going to do a occasional card. It's going to look wonderful. We're going to use the same paper. We're going to tape it up, show you how you can make a beautiful card, birthday card, a holiday card, a get well soon card, a thank you card, a hope you're doing well card, a congratulations card, whatever kind of card you like to make with your watercolor paper and paints. We're going to do it here, okay? So we're going to do an occasional card next. Let's just do one more practice row of some swatches here with different colors that we haven't used already. And we'll even do a third row, and we'll make some darker tonal values with our swatches to kind of see how it looks darker in tonal value, the different colors we've used. But I think these really light colors or tonal values in these different colors is going to look great for our occasional card. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break now, and we'll come right back in just a second. All right, everybody, we are back, and we are going to get started here with another row of swatches. We're using our Staedtler watercolor crayons, and let's keep working here. So let's go with one more row here. So we can even pencil in, if you want, you can pencil in a couple squares, a couple swatches here. Maybe we'll do that. And I'll try to do the same number that we did over here. So 5, and let's do another 5 here, and we'll do another 5 below that. So here I'm just doing a quick little pencil outline that we're going to use. And I might turn down my light over here a little bit, see how that looks. Sometimes if I turn down the light a little bit, I can see the pencil lines a little better through my camera. I'm hoping you can see the pencil lines too. And then I'm just going to, again, do some, I'll start down here and just go right around, do a square like that. Start up here, 1, here, okay, like this, this. There we go. Okay, so we let's take the ones we used and we'll just maybe put them here. So we use, in order, we use what looks like a Viridian green. And we said that that was the Verde. And then this one was this leaf green kind of look. Willow green it's called on this set, or Verde Sauce. Okay, then we did the red. We did like a kind of an alizarin crimson rose madder style red with the light wash. And this is called the rojo, or red, or rouge. Then we have what looks like a cerulean blue. And we said this one is the light blue, or the azul claro, or blue clair, which looks like, again, a cerulean pretty much. Then we used our, what looks to be a cobalt blue or French ultramarine blue, and they call this one cobalt blue, or azul cobalto, or blue cobalt, blue cobalt. Now let's try some more colors we have here. Let's try Bordeaux, or Bordeaux, Bordeaux or Bordeaux. Let's try that one here. And again, I'm just going to do that light shading across. We're going to do the light shadowing, like this. And I hope everyone's going to pick up some watercolor crayons or watercolor pencils. I hope you'll pick up the watercolor crayons, actually, because that's what we're using here. So, I mean, if you are going to try it and you don't have them, might as well get the watercolor crayons and even the Statler, or whatever you can find. Sometimes you can't always find everything when you go out and look for it on the internet or in the store. But let's try this one. Okay, so rinse the brush, tap off a little bit of water, but not too much. And we'll just kind of see how that looks. And that looks absolutely beautiful. That's like the rose madder of the two washes. This is more of an alizarin crimson, and the rose madder is, I would say, a little bit cooler. And the alizarin crimson is a little bit warmer. Looks fantastic. Look at how good that looks. And again, we're doing the lighter versions of these colors. We're going to do the a couple of the dark versions down here. When I say dark, I mean the darker tonal values, which means pressing harder on the crayon and seeing how it looks with a darker tonal value in that color. So let's continue. Let's try another color here. Let's try our brown. And this is Van Dyke brown, or Café Van Dyke, or Brun Van Dyke. So that's our brown. Let's try that. Okay, and I just, again, I didn't do too much shading here, just enough to get it lightly on the paper, as you can see. And then again, we do the rinse the brush, tap off a touch of water, and then we go right in and start to activate that crayon, watercolor crayon. And that looks wonderful. That is like a nice earthy color. That could be like beach sand. This could be some colors of the earth, like with ground area soil in a painting when you're doing landscape paintings. This can be upholstery in an interior, some beautiful upholstery, might be some brown. Earth colors like cement, stone, concrete. Brown is a beautiful color, and I think it looks great too with this crayon. That looks like a really beautiful. That's like a burnt umber in our regular palette that we use all the time, a burnt umber. And then we just make it a light wash, and then we have it. And let's try this one. This one might be a flesh tone. This could be used too for flesh tones, which is great. And this is like a flesh tone here. This would probably be peach. So this is peach color. And I don't have the wrapper on this one, but this one's the peach. Pesce or durazno, or Petri. Let's try that. Peach. Peachy keen. Let's try it here. Okay, a light, almost like a quilt or a tapestry or something like that, like a cloth. Cross-hatching it both ways lightly. And then we have that. And then we add, again, just rinse the brush off, tap a little bit of water off, and then we just activate that swatch here. See how it looks? And I kind of try to mix that color around a little bit, that crayon shading around. And that looks good. Wow, nice. Beautiful. Again, that's a great color of fruits, sunsets, sky colors, sunrise, sunset, colors of fruits, obviously a color of a peach, flesh tones, beautiful for figure painting, portraits. So that is a great, fantastic color. Let's try a yellow. Let's see how this looks. This is a yellow, which is a yellow, amarillo, and one or jaune. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing these correctly. It's always a learning process with everything. And let's do this. Cross-hatch that both ways. And that's like a lemony yellow, cool yellow. This looks like a cool yellow. Almost a pretty cross between a cool and a warm yellow. It's right in the between spot. Not quite cool, super cool, but not quite super warm either. Yeah, I'd consider that kind of like a, it looks like a lemony yellow to me. Maybe like a cad yellow lemon, probably. Maybe a touch warmer than that, but it's pretty toward the cooler side of the lemon, of the yellow, which means it's toward the green versus toward the warmer, which would be the orange. All right, now let's do this here. This is another orange. Yeah, this is the orange. So it's similar to the peach. This is orange or naranja. Okay. One of my favorite colors, orange. Reminds me of orange juice. And sunset type colors with the sky, energy. Most people don't like orange and yellow, really. I'm kind of odd that I like orange and yellow. A lot of people don't like that. Like, that's their least favorite colors, probably like the oranges and the yellows. But for me, I do. I always like the yellows and oranges for whatever reason. And let's see, we have white, which is not really going to work with this too much. We're not really going to see anything really. We could probably use a little bit of white over one of these colors, any of these. But white is interesting. That can be like a nice smoke color, or could be mist colors or highlights or anything really. Let's try our black. And this is, it is simply black or negro or noir. So let's try our black, and we'll kind of see what it looks like in comparison to our normal everyday palette that we use. I'm thinking it's going to probably look like an ivory black, more or less, which is more toward the warm side, towards like the browns and reds, versus the cooler brother or sister of ivory black, which would be Payne's Gray, which is toward the cool side, which is, toward the blue or the green. Okay, so that is that. And then we have a little bit of wash, not too much water, just enough water to kind of start mixing this around and getting it to smooth out and give us a good wash here. And it looks pretty good. Great texture with this too. I noticed that right away. It gives you some really beautiful like textures and different, it's different in the fact that it really does, especially too because you're putting down cross hatching, or as creative as you get with your shading in of your areas that you're going to paint, that will actually equal out to interesting texture to your colors, your swatches, your washes of paint. So this gives you beautiful color, and when you're using these crayons, you can put down the cross hatching whatever way you want, cross hatch, level and then plumb, or you can do 45-degree angles, or you can do all kinds of different hatching. You can maybe make like a really interesting bit of swatches like this on a lot of different watercolor paper that you have, and come up with all different kinds of under the actual swatch and paint color itself. You can come up with all kinds of interesting textures by making different marks on your paper first with your crayon. So that's something you really can explore too, because that really looks great, right? If you see the great paintings of history that go back in watercolor, you'll notice that a lot of the great artists, they like to get a lot of different texture type feels in their watercolors. Like they didn't want to just put down a plain old wash and walk away. They wanted to add in textures and little speckles of things, and they use probably all kinds of interesting brushes to get texture. So texture can be a really fun thing to explore with watercolor. Just something to think about, right? You're the artist. I'm just trying to maybe, along with myself here, I'm learning something new as I go here. I'm really just trying this for the first time, and I'm thinking out loud, and I'm hoping that we all together can learn some new things here, and I think we have already. Now what we'll do is we'll start out again at the first spot, which is Viridian, and let's go with a darker tonal value, and we're going to do that by pressing harder on the crayon and making darker shading. So let's see look how dark I'm getting this. I'm going quite a bit darker than I did before. So when we first started, we were going really, really light, correct? Yes, we were. We were going very light with our pencil and our crayons here, like light. We weren't pressing hard with our crayons. We were lightly, gently going across the paper and getting these lighter washes. Now we're going to start saying, let's try a darker tonal value by pressing harder and maybe going over it 2 or 3 different times over the same area, so we get lots of crayon on there. And let's see how that looks. Right away you can see from here to here it's already looking very dark compared to this. Let's try a little bit of water on that, and let's go. 1, 2, 3, go. And look how great that looks. Doesn't that looks fantastic. So it's got a lot more chroma and exciting color to it. Not that this doesn't look great. That looks great too. Nice light wash, pastel-y look. And this looks good too. That looks great. Okay, so now we can see adding dark. Let's try another one. We'll go right here, 1, 2, and 3 maybe. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try these all in the darker. So now we're going to go with our, again, we're repeating here. So now here we're doing this one here. And this one is, again, willow green, or verde sauce, or vert sole. Let's do the darker, pressing harder on the, I'm going to turn myself on the side over here so I can kind of get this a little darker and also not be in the way of the camera, so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And okay, and then we could even cross hatch this way and come down this way. Wow, that's fun. This is like Crayola crayons all over again here. This is great. And there we're going to go this way. That looks great. Leaf green, that really looks like leaf green, which is a great color for like plants and grass and trees. flowers, stuff like that. Leaf green's a great color. I use that often with all my other greens that I use. I use a lot of different greens. You know on my regular palette, those of you that follow me on a regular basis, you know all my greens. Viridian green, olive green, sap green, and then some leaf green too I have in there once in a while. So you can see the difference right away, how that looks much more darker in tonal value. More color, more saturated color, more chroma. And then let's go with this one here. This one is the red, and I think, yep, this is the rojo or red or rouge. And we'll do the same thing here. We're going to press harder on the crayon so we can get that beautiful rich red color. And I'll go this way too, so we'll cross hatch across here. There we go. Now, again, rinse off our brush, tap off just a touch of water, and add just a damp brush. And you can see, wow, that looks great. Does that not look fantastic? Flower paintings and sky washes with sunsets and different colors of houses and barns in the when we do our country scenes out in the farmlands, the barn colors and clothing. So you can use this for anything, really. Obviously, you know, whatever you like to paint. Boat colors and lighthouses are red. All kinds of interesting stuff. But that's a much more exciting, not much more exciting than this. This is exciting, just as exciting. It's just a lighter color, a lighter tonal value. This is a darker tonal value, which you get more excited because you see more of the rich color that you have here. But it's, again, no complaints about this either. That looks great too. And let's do one more. Let's do the blue. Let's do the cobalt blue. And this is, again, the cobalt blue or azul cobalto or blue cobalt. Okay, and then we're just going to go like this. And then we'll go like this, across this way. Then I'm going to press down. And I haven't pressed down all that hard. Pretty good amount of pressure on there, but not an extreme amount of pressure. I'm sure we can get it even darker than that, but we're just going to see what we have here. So we're going to rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of water, and a damp brush is probably fine over here. And this might be the, I'm trying to think if this is actually this. We're going to have to try it out. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think that was the, yeah, that was the cobalt. Okay, so you can kind of see the variations you can get with this, and you can even go darker yet. We could maybe even just squeeze in a couple colors really, really dark just to try it out. Let's try just a couple. So I'm going to press down as hard as I can on this swatch over here, like this, up above this one. So you can see that is pure crayon on there. Let's see what happens here. Let's rinse the brush off, dry off just a little bit of water, damp brush. And I think it's, even though we press super hard on that, we're still coming up with almost the same tonal value as this one, which we didn't press that hard, but we did put a lot of the crayon down onto this paper. But I think we kind of, already we've done an experiment where we see that if you really press super hard on your crayon onto your paper, you're not going to get it much darker than if you just go with an average amount, or, you know, a little bit heavier of amount of shading that we did here. So that's a good thing we learned now too. So we learned that if you go super heavy with your pressing down super hard, you're not going to get it much darker than if you just use a good amount of pressure on there and get a darker. So you're pretty much going to get like a mixture of, this is not quite super light, but this is light. You can get it lighter than this here too. So if you can imagine, you can get like another, let's try one up here just so we can kind of say that we're experimenting, you know, we're experimenting with this and trying to see what we can do here. So now this one is super light. You see I'm doing here? That is super light. I barely touched the paper with that. I'll rinse off the brush and let's see what we can do with this. If this is, yes, you can see that is a little bit lighter, and it's going to dry even lighter than this here. So this here, we barely touched the paper with the crayon, and we got a really, really super light tonal value there, and this is still wet. When it dries, it'll be quite a bit lighter than this one, which we said was pretty light also. So this has a really good value range. You can get quite a bit of value range from these pencils, these crayons, these watercolor crayons. Actually, this is even a little bit, you can see where I really pressed hard up here. Yes, it is actually darker than this, right up here in that midsection of that little bit of a swatch we did up here. So you can see that you can almost use these the same as you would watercolor paints. So if you're using this, let's say you bought this Statler watercolor crayon set, you basically can get paintings, the results the same way as if you were using fresh squeezed tube paint. That's really the essence of it. It's just you're putting down your color a little differently. And this might be good for if you want to kind of take your time and get all your colors figured out really in a kind of a slow fashion, where you might take a larger sheet of paper and do a whole composition, and then you have your time. You don't have to worry about the clock ticking. You can just actually take each of your colors that you have here. Once you put a couple of these together and you kind of see the colors you might want to use, you can actually take your time and fill in all your areas of your painting with the pencil. Crayons, actually, right? First. We're going to do that actually next. So let's do that. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to trim off this page and start another page, and we'll do a watercolor painting on this. And we'll kind of use the knowledge that we have from practicing these swatches to create a painting. And you're going to really have a good time of this. This is really fun. We'll even do maybe an occasional card, actually. We'll take this and we'll divide it in half, fold it over, put some tape on it. We'll make a card. We'll show you how to do that too. And we're going to have a great time doing this. And I hope if you're if you're here for the first time, well, welcome everybody, and welcome. If you're just here for the first time, thank you for coming by. I really appreciate it. There's a subscribe button on the right-hand side below. All you have to do is click that button, and that means you won't lose me. You'll be able to keep following me. You'll see my new videos pop up in your YouTube channel when you open up YouTube the next time. And this way you don't lose track of me. And we're here every week doing watercolors, every week, every month, and every year. We just keep working and working and working on watercolors until we become proficient at it and really do a great job of it. And we all are learning and growing as we have our watercolor journey underway. So continue with us here. And if you're just starting here for the first time, welcome. It's your first time here. Now you're just going to keep coming back week after week and month after month and year after year, and you will learn watercolor, no doubt about it. You'll do a great job of it too. And we're showing you some different things right here, right now. Some watercolor crayons, which maybe you're going to see this and love it, and you're going to start working in this type of medium, and that'll be fine for you. Some of you that have been painting a while might say, I'm going to try this for a couple months or a year and just see what I can do with that. Whatever, it's up to you. You're the artist. You have all these options out there on the table for you when it comes to watercolors. This is still watercolor. It's just that you're using crayons, but no one would even know if you were doing your watercolors with crayon medium, versus using paints, unless they were like, an expert watercolor painter. And then they might look at it really closely and go, yeah, I see a couple little spots there where they were shading in something and it looks like it's crayons or something. But other than that, unless it's an expert master watercolor artist, probably most people would never know you're using crayons, because I can tell you right now, this looks like watercolor. I wouldn't even know the difference myself. Okay, all right, so enough of the talk. Let's get busy. Let's take a break and then get back into action, okay? All right, be right back. All right, so we're back in business, and we're actually going to get ourselves situated here with taking the, again, we said this was the Arches satin paper, which has got the pink cover. This is a 9x12 pad, or 7x10, 7x10 pad. And then what we're going to do is, this is a gum block. You can see this is all gummed around here, this black. This is all gum, so it's like a, they put it on with like a hot, it's like a hot, like plasticky, gummy mixture that goes around the whole paper, edges of all the papers, and they glue all the papers together. And then when you take a small letter opener, you can just gently move that around the whole paper, like so, like this, and you swing it around. And now you've taken off one sheet of paper off your gummed pad, watercolor paper pad, and that's just, you know, a wonderful thing. So you have your swatches. You can put this in a folder. You can pin it up on your studio wall or your living room wall or your bedroom wall or your kitchen. You put it on your refrigerator, whatever you want to do. Keep this handy. You can kind of refer back to it and see the different variations you can get with the different colors. And I'm going to leave this actually across from me in my studio right here as we work on our painting. Actually, we're going to do a watercolor occasional card next. So now we're going to use this same pad and we're going to make an occasional card. Now, how we're going to do that is we're just going to take the pad, put it down, we'll set it down here. What I'm going to do is tape it down first. So I'll take a little bit of artist tape, and I'll just put down a little bit of artist tape on here just to keep this from moving around. We don't want you always want to remember to try to, just my own little pet peeve, but try to always keep your watercolor paper, or if you work with a sketchbook or single sheets of paper, whatever it is, whenever you're using your paper, try to always have it so that it's affixed and not moving around, because you don't want it sliding around when you're painting or drawing, because then it'll throw off your drawing or your painting as you go. So we have it taped down like this. I'll put another piece over here actually. So I'll take this here and just put another bit of paper there, tape there. And now it's super secure. It's not moving side to side, and it's not moving forward. Now the next thing we'll do is you don't have to necessarily have this, but I have a T-square, which really comes in handy. But you don't have to have one. You can just measure with a regular ruler, and you just want to find the center mark of your paper. So I'm going to find a pencil. We'll find the center mark of our paper up here and say, okay, this is 10 and 3/16. 10 and a quarter. 10 and a quarter is 5 1/8, center mark. Transfer that down this way. 5 1/8. That's the exact halfway point. Take your ruler, transfer those, or line up your ruler with both of those pencil marks you made on top and bottom, and that's your exact halfway point of your paper. Now you have to just envision this as being your card. So this is your occasional card right now. So right now we know that this is the center of the card, and that's where you're going to fold it and put a crease in it, and that'll be your card. It'll just fold in half, and kind of like, let's see if I have something over here. Yes, I do. I have something over here, just to kind of make it. Again, we measure. We get a center mark there, halfway, perfect halfway this way, perfect halfway that way, perfect halfway this way, perfect halfway that way. We put a line across it, just so we have an exact, perfect line like that. And then this is what we'll do once we finish our painting and we peel off that page off our gummed block. We'll just take our paper and fold it right on that line that we created, which is this same line here, and that's your card right there. And you can stand it up and you have your card just like that. Or you can use your card like this and make it like this. So you can make your card in landscape format or in portrait format, which is, you know, upright, vertical. So it's up to you how you want to make your cards. You know, maybe if it's like a landscape, like mountains or something like that, you'll have it in your landscape format, which is more like this. And you can set it on a table like that, and you have your landscape. And then if you have it in portrait, maybe you're doing like a street scene or a portrait figure, or, you know, a figure or a portrait or something like that, or even like just a scene that you want to paint, like a street scene with a big tall building in it, or a lighthouse, anything like that. Then you have you stand it up like this in portrait mode like that. So that's your basics of it. Then what we do is we want to make sure we have tape around this so we have a little bit of a border. So I'll use my purple tape just so we can kind of see how that's going to look. So we're going to do one, and this will be the face of our card, and this will be the back of the card. So we're going to do this. We'll make this 1.5 tape widths high. So this is 1 1/2 of this tape here, which is about 3/4 of an inch. Then we'll go this way. First thing we'll do is we'll get this set, which is the crease of our card there. Then we're going to go with another tape this way. And then that's easy, right? And then this one is the same thing. 1 3/4 inch tape that way, and 1 3/4 inch tape this way. Like that. And that's your window for your cover of your occasional card. And then you'll have room down here to write a little message. And then this is going to be the back of the card, and you want to cover this. So I would suggest we take a little bit of leftover watercolor paper, whatever you have, and just cover that and tape it down so that no splashes or anything gets on the back of your card. Okay, and that should be fine. I'll tape this down a little bit more here just so it doesn't cause us any anxiousness. Like that. And maybe I'll even take some of these pencil lines and just erase them so it doesn't bother us when we're working. So it won't, you know, I want to make sure you don't feel distracted at all when you're drawing and painting on my videos here. So I'll just erase these lines a little bit on this paper here. I should have used printer paper, forgive me. So, but that looks pretty good, that's fine. Okay, so now we have our crayons, we're all set. We have our clean, crystal clear water, our sponge to take a little bit of water off. We covered the back of our card, and this is the front of our card, and we taped all around it just like we said we would do. And we covered that just a second ago, how you use a little bit of a thicker 1 1/2 width of your watercolor tape. So 1 1/2, so one piece of tape, and then you cover and you do another half. You could even do two passes, 1 and 2, but I use like 1 1/2, and then 1 all the way around here. And then if you can imagine, the center of the card, the center of the card is right here. Like that. And I just put this piece of tape here so we could tape down this other piece of paper to cover the back of the card. So we don't want all kinds of smudges all over the back of the card. That wouldn't look great. Okay, so we're ready to start our composition. We're just going to do a real simple composition here. Nothing too fancy. So I'll use just a normal mechanical pencil, number 7 pencil, Pentel 120 A3DX 0.7 millimeter pencil. Perfect, reloads all the time. You just click it and you get fresh pencil point there. You never have to sharpen it and all that stuff. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do just a beautiful, kind of like a pot and some flowers, just real simple. So we're going to pretend this is going to be like a window. So we're going to have a window sill here, or a table. And then let's do a flower pot, real simple like that. And maybe we'll have a little bit of an angle this here. We'll do a little bit of an angle there, just to give it a little bit of interesting shape to it. And then we'll do a couple flowers. Let's do some leaf forms first. And you just take some vine-like shapes and just kind of move them around a little bit like this. You could do any old thing you want. And you're just doing some leaf forms like that. And then, springing up from that, we'll do a couple flower shapes. And you just kind of scribble in some flower shapes. Don't get fussy with this, okay? Please, please give yourself the freedom to just put some branches in there, some twigs and branches, and then just get a couple forms that look like buds of flowers and leaves and a little bit of flower shapes and things like that, and that's all. Complete. Maybe another one up here like this. Excuse me. I don't have a cough button. Okay, so that's what we want to do, is create your own fun, creative bit of leaf forms. That's all. Some leaf forms here and there. Just so you get a feel for something where you're having a fun time doing your occasional card. Again, could be a birthday card, holiday card, get well card, feel better card, encouragement card, whatever it is. And there you have it. And you saw that I just basically made some simple leaf forms, and then a couple buds and a couple flowers up top here. Any old thing is good. You can just fake it till you make it. Don't make, you can use this for your reference, or you can even look up some flowers online or whatever. But remember, flowers are kind of fun. They're very free. They kind of have all different kinds of shapes, so you don't have to stress over creating something like this. You just make it the way you want to make it. And then you go a little bit more the next time. Maybe you do another one of these and you try to look up maybe a couple things on the internet and find a little bit of something you might want to change or look better, and you just work with it. Have a fun time with it, though, for the most part. Don't stress over it. It's just some flowers and things like that, and some leaf forms. Okay, so we're really looking good here. We got our pencil. Let's start using our crayons, like we said. Let's do a very, very light blue wash over the whole thing. So now what you're going to see me do is put a very, very light, and you can even break off a piece of crayon and peel off the, I'm just doing this on the fly here, right? I haven't done this before, but I'm just thinking, I used to use crayons all the time when I was a little boy. We had Crayola crayons in my house all the time, at my family's houses, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, whatever. They always had Crayola crayons everywhere. So we used these, we threw them at people, we did everything you can imagine with Crayola crayons. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a very, very super light wash of that. Then we'll take our watercolor brush. Now this here I would use, we've been using this to do our swatches as you saw before. Let's try to use a wider brush, maybe something that we can, let's try this one here. This is just a flat brush, and this is Princeton Art and Brush Company. This is a 5/8 flat brush like that. So this is going to be better to wet this paper and get this nice light blue wash on. So let's do that. Rinse, take the brush, dampen it up with some water, tap a little bit of water off it, but we're going to need quite a bit here to do this whole, and we're going to do like a glazing technique basically. Just we'll glaze the whole thing with a light wash of that blue. And I even think we need some green really quickly. Let's see if I can try this out. Again, I'm trying this on the fly here. I'm going to take some green. See if I can get some green on there too. Okay, good. Let's make it even more interesting. Let's go this way too. I'm going to rinse the brush, dry off the... And I'm just going to go across. I'm going to cross-hatch this whole thing. Like this. See, sometimes we take a journey and we do something totally different that we never did before. Maybe some of you never did watercolor before, and you're going to take this journey of watercolor and you're going to have an absolutely fun time with it and just have a great time and get better and better every week after week, month after month, and year after year. And I'm just kind of showing you a microcosm of what I can do. I'm just trying watercolor crayons for the first time, and I'm having a great time of it. This is really fun. And you'll do the same thing with your watercolors. You just try it out, get started, keep perfecting everything you do as you go, and you'll be fine. So there we go. So that's a really light green wash and blue and green wash. Then we can even take a tissue if we wanted to make it a little bit lighter and just blot up a little bit around the whole thing. Like this if we wanted to. Blot the whole thing. We'll let this dry for like 10-15 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll paint in the vase, or actually it's a flower pot. So this is like a square or a rectangular shaped flower pot, and then we'll do the leaf forms and also the flowers and the stems and the little bits of buds and things like that and flowers. Okay? All right, so we'll be right back. Let's just take a quick break though. We want to let this dry 100% before we come back and try painting on it, because this paper is wet and damp. We can't paint on wet and damp paper unless you're an expert watercolor artist, or if you've been painting like 3 or 4 years, or maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 years. So if you've been painting 1 or 2 years, you might understand the complexity of trying to paint on wet paper or damp paper. But if you're just starting out in watercolor, like your first 6 months, year, always try to remember, get a wash on your paper and then just walk away from it. Get out of there, walk away from it, and let it dry 100%. And if you have a blow dryer, you can blow dry it for 5 minutes and then you can go right back in and paint, and you don't have to wait around. But if you don't have a blow dryer or you don't want to use a blow dryer, you got to let it dry like an hour or two, and then you come back and you can paint over top. But let this dry 100% before you go back on top of this and start painting, because we did that first glazing, that first wash of water and crayons. Okay? Excellent. I know you're doing a great job out there, and let's get right back together again in just a second. I'm going to let this dry. I might use the blow dryer, and then we can come right back. Okay? All right. Be right back. All right. So we got back here, and I used my blow dryer. I dried off this, so now it's completely dry to the touch. That's the perfect time. We'll go back and we'll do our next wash. Now we're not going to actually get too fancy with this. Let's do the front here with some darker green. So the front of the vase, some darker green. Like that. And then maybe let's do some red and green. This is the Bordeaux. So the green and Bordeaux. So I'm going to try to mix some colors now. I'm going to keep it simple though, right? So green and Bordeaux. So Verde green and Bordeaux. And then maybe some cobalt blue. Okay. That's our vase on the face of the vase here. Now the light is, let's pretend there's a window behind here. So since we're pretending there's a window behind here, I forgot to draw the window in, but let's do that. Let's make a line behind here, and then let's not guess on where it's going to go. Let's use our Golden Mean These you can purchase online. This is the Golden Mean ratio, and this is like basically your scale for Golden Mean ratio, which is the greatest painters of all time always use the Golden Mean, which is a unit of measure. So whenever you take this Golden Mean ratio instrument and you open and widen it, it always gives you the same distance between here, here, and here. So if you want to have a perfect spot for your window frame, you use your Golden Mean ratio calipers, or you can switch it around the other way. I think it's going to look better over here on this side, so let's switch it around this way. And there you have it. Now this is if you're a perfectionist and you really want to, make your art stand out and look really incredibly professional, and art critics that might look at your work might say, oh, wow, that person really was going above and beyond to try to make their artwork look really exceptional. So you use your Golden Mean calipers, and they come all different kinds, wooden ones, metal ones. You can find them in the art stores and online. And then I'll take that line and I'll just drop a plumb line here and go right down like that. Then I'll just make another wider line like this. That'll be the window frame behind this. So that will just be a nice, and then maybe we'll even add a window, bit of window on the bottom here. So that would be this would be the sash of the window. So these are like, let's say, large windows. So the window sash is down here, and then you have your window frame here, like your lights. So these would be your okay. Now this is all going to be behind here. So we need to take our eraser and see if we can erase that a little bit. And we can, look at that. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so now here I'm going to use the blue again. We're going to make this a little bit lighter over here. This side of the vase is picking up a little bit more light. So this is darker and this is lighter over here. So there's more light over here on this. Green, blue. So blue, green, and let's even get a little bit of that brown in there. Or red, it's like a Bordeaux red. So basically we're just going to use the three colors. Green, so cobalt blue, verde green, and some Bordeaux red, which is like a red, like a clay red, or this would be like a burnt sienna. So if we were using our normal colors, it would be cobalt blue, viridian green, and burnt sienna, which are three beautiful colors. I can't think of anything that would look greater than that. So we have our vase here, and then we're going to do this here. So let's use some green for our stems. So I'm just going to do my stems in that green, as well as the leaf forms. So I'm going to do my leaf forms in green and red. I'll mix it up, and blue. So we're going to use all the same three colors, the whole composition here. So I hope you'll just keep working with us here. Nothing too fancy. I'm actually just going to start mixing around this green everywhere where there's flowers, flower buds, and leaf forms, with the green first. Then I'll go with the blue over that. Just a little bit of blue and green everywhere. Blue and green everywhere. Wherever I made some leaf forms or flowers or flower buds, I'm going to use the same three colors as we used in the vase. So you're just using basically three colors on this for your color composition. And then we'll do a little bit of the Bordeaux. So the Bordeaux is, maybe we'll go a little heavier with the Bordeaux on some of these leaf forms over here. So now we can start mixing up a little more variation. Maybe, you make a few of these more red, the leaf forms, and then maybe you have same thing over here. A couple of the flowers are more red, some are more blue and green, like that. And again, let's take some blue for the stems and green. Like that. Some green. So the stems too, the same thing, blue, green, and Bordeaux. Bordeaux. The stem's a little thicker in the middle here. Okay, I think that looks fine. Now we're going to see how this looks when we put some water on this and kind of do a very, very light watercolor wash on this. So again, I'm going to use my Simmons, Simply Simmons, number, I think it's a number 8 round brush. And we'll add just a tiny touch of water, damp brush. That's all you need here is a damp brush. And we'll try to mix our colors up here and see how it turns out. But I think it's going to look fantastic. Let's try it out. Look how, wow, that looks really good. All right. I'm going to get a little line across here on the table. Rinse off the brush, damp brush. This side of the vase is a little bit lighter. It's picking up more light from the window behind us, so we're painting into the light. You'll hear me say that all the time on my channel, just so you know, when you come back again, and I know you will come back, to paint more with us and draw and paint in watercolor, and even use our watercolor crayons too. We're using everything we have at our disposal to have a good time with watercolors, and we're not going to let it get us frustrated or, down because we don't have a perfect painting. That's not what it's about. It's about having fun. Right now I'm going to add a little bit of splashing. A couple splashes. Add some splashes there. Now, we'll, again, rinse the brush off, damp brush, and let's just start adding in our leaf forms. Some are a little darker, some are a little lighter, but you can see how I'm doing this here. I'm just basically using a damp brush and just moving my way around like that to get the shading of our crayons activated with a damp brush. Okay. Now I'm doing those, rinse off the brush, dry off a little bit of the water, damp brush, and I'm just reactivating all those areas that we put our pencil lines down on. So that's all you want to do is wet those areas you put your lines and your shading in. And we can always add more pencil lines with our crayons as we need to, and we're going to show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Now we can add a little more red in here, maybe some Bordeaux. Maybe, yeah, I think that looked good. Maybe some, yeah, Bordeaux. We'll keep our same. And you can just add some more color there on some of the spots. You can add in some more red in the here. If you don't like a spot, you just take your brush, rinse it off, dry off a little bit of the water, and just kind of, smooth it out. But I think that looks pretty good. And then now let's go in and get our green and blue window frame. So we have the window frame here. And then down here too, we have the window frame. Like that. And then some blue, that cobalt blue, green, verde, cobalt blue. And then we're going to use some of that Bordeaux. Like that. And that looks good. Rinse off the brush. Make sure you have your vase clearly stated here, so you don't want to have that blending into your window. Like that. And we make sure that we have our and you can see I'm using my crayons here to fill in areas. And then maybe we use some more green here. Like that. Maybe it's not perfect, but you know what? It looks pretty good. I think I need to better this shape here. This looks a little bit too... That might be better. And then if I take some more of that Bordeaux here, like that, and the blue, like that, that looks a little bit better. Good. Okay, and then I'm going to add some more of that Bordeaux in this too here, this window frame. I want to make this dark, but I don't want to make it dark the whole way. I want to sort of interrupt that line a little bit. So we're interrupting our lines sometimes. So here, blue. There we go. Then we take that line and we rinse the brush off, take a little bit of water off so it's a damp brush, and let's just make this kind of like a dashed line. We don't want it to be straight through. Like that. Then we could take our damp brush and we can just take this and go right down like this. Rinse off the brush. Kind of smooth out any issue. You know, if you have issues, just try to. There we go. So we have a mostly green and red. I think maybe we ought to go over the whole thing with blue. Let's try it out. Everybody really loves blue. Blue is the favorite color of, you know, if you interviewed like 100 people, 60% would say their favorite color is blue. So why not? Let's use the blue over this whole thing like that. Then let's take our brush again, our 5/8 inch Princeton Art and Brush Company flat brush, crystal clear water. Rinse off the brush, tap off a little bit of water, and let's see if we can just smooth this out like this. Then we'll go like this. Over the whole paper. Like that. Then we can take a tissue maybe and do some blotting. Even some twisting and blotting like this. Couple of these like that. You never know. Have a good time of it. You know, just have fun with it. Experiment. So let's try it out. Let's see how this looks. Now this is going to look really good when you lift off your tape. You're going to see how good this looks. There we go. Perfect. All right, so we just made a gorgeous occasional card. Then we can peel off our tape, remove it from our table so that we don't need now we can take our paper and we can lift it up from the table, remove the tape. Then we're going to find our letter opener. And then here you have the gummed block paper. And we're going to take this top piece of paper we just painted on, our occasional card, and we just use our letter opener, and we just go around the paper, just like that. Spin it around this way, go right around. Just like that, and there you go. You've got a perfect occasional card. Birthday card, holiday card, get well card, encouragement card. Perfect occasional card. Now we have the line on here. We already made that pencil line. So all we have to do now is take our card and simply line up the edges like that. Make sure that when we bend it, we're right on that pencil line like that. Like this, and then just sort of crimp it on down. Like that. And there we have it. A perfect occasional card. All that's left, now that you have your occasional card, it's perfect. Look at that. Excellent. Stands up on a table perfectly. Coffee table or a nightstand, whatever it is. You have your occasional card for your friend, your loved one, your family member. A thank you card for anyone you can imagine. And then all you have to do now is if you want to just kick it up a notch and say, okay, now we're going to go to the next process here. And that would be you take just a simple ruler, and maybe you put it about halfway between the bottom of the painting and the bottom of the card, or a little bit. You might say to yourself, okay, let me find the halfway point and then go a little lower than the halfway point, like that. Then you drop your ruler on there. You make sure your ruler is level, and you do across that way. Now, if you feel like you're not sure if the ruler is level, if it's going this way and this way, all you have to do is measure. And you might say, if you're using the metric system, 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 centimeters. And you make your little dash mark there and there. Same thing if you're using inches, you would say, okay, this is 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch, make a mark over here. 1/2 inch over here, make a mark there. Then you drop your ruler across like so. You put a light pencil line across, and you maybe even make another one here across the top, however high you want to make your, like that. Then you can grab yourself any kind of pen, pencil, marker, whatever you like to use. I like to use Sharpie markers. Okay, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a Sharpie marker like this. Sharpie markers, I use these all the time. And then you can even, before you start your writing of what you want to write, you might say, all right, let me get my message printed out first, then I'll go over with the marker. But let me go with pencil first, because you might want to erase it because you might spell it incorrectly, whatever. So I'm just going to say, thanks for watching. And then I think I have a problem there. My English is not perfect. I think that's... I think it's WA. All right. We'll see how it turns out because I think that's correct. Watching. Yep. Those of you that are great at English and languages and writing, you won't have a problem with this. But I have to sometimes do pencil first, and then once you have your pencil down, you should be fine. And then you go over it with your Sharpie marker because you know you checked it. You checked your dictionary and your thesaurus. Thanks for watching. Perfect, right? And then this Sharpie markers dry really super fast. And then you just erase all your pencil lines right off like that. Look how good that looks. Once you erase your pencil lines, no one knows you did that, and people think you're, incredible because you were able to do that. But you don't tell them the secrets. If you're an artist, we share those secrets. But if you're not an artist, they're not going to know how you did it. Okay, and we'll zoom in here just so we can see it a little better. Okay, there it is, our finished card. And you can do the same thing too when you open it up and you want to make a message in your card. You can just take your ruler and evenly space your lines with a light pencil line all the way down. Maybe every centimeter you make a line all the way down your paper, and then you write your message inside your card. And then over here, I always put your painting here. So I always tell people, try giving it a shot. Try doing a painting over here, or a drawing or a painting. I'm silly when it comes to that. I always try to get people to paint and draw. But anyway, have a great time with these occasional cards, and of course, have a great time with our watercolor crayons. I hope everyone will try watercolor crayons. I'm going to use them more, that's for sure. After doing this video, I'm really convinced that this is a really fun thing to do with the watercolor medium, and I'm going to do more of this and more videos on this too. So look for those. More videos coming up with watercolor crayons. Okay, everybody? Thanks for watching again. Hope everything is going fantastic with your artwork, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.